Hi, everyone. Please welcome Tom Rowland, Executive Vice President of Film and TV Music at Universal Music Group. Super excited to have him here.
Thank you for having me.
This is our series Behind the Business, where we go into the music industry professionals, their career, their life, how they got where they are. And I'm super excited to talk to Tom today. I'm Tori Coleman. I'm the host. I'm an assistant here at 3.5. And let's get started. How are you feeling?
Feeling good. Let's go.
Feeling good. So let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
As a kid, were you interested in music?
My mother knew the words to every musical that ever there was.
Okay.
So consequently, I know the lyrics to musicals I've never seen. So music was
Chorus
always in the
Line,
house.
Jesus Christ Superstar, the classics.
A little bit early, the classic Hollywood, Oklahoma,
Oh.
those musicals.
Love it.
So, and every year when Sound of Music was on, it was a family gathering. And now when I see it, I cry like a baby. So,
Yeah.
So
No,
music
it
was
has
always
that
in the
effect.
house.
Music was always in the house. Did you play instruments growing up?
Well, we had the mandatory compulsory piano lessons with the lady down the street who tried to instill Beethoven and Tchaikovsky into the mind of a rock and roll kid. So those didn't go
Didn't
well.
stick.
I ultimately made it stick, but not from Mrs. McGillicuddy down the street or whatever her name was.
Yeah, I also actually did take piano lessons too, and I can sight read a little bit, but not a lot of that is still in the fingers. So, growing up a little bit, what inspired you to pursue psychology and religion in college?
Well, I wanted to be a psychiatrist when I grew up, and I'm still waiting for that moment, actually. I took a few classes in the religion department, mostly having to do with American history, the early settlers and the Amish and that. And the professor was so profoundly amazing, I decided to take every single class he taught, which was mostly the American look at sort of religious sects and cults and movements, the Shakers, the Quakers.
Yeah.
And then one day I woke up and go, shoot, if I take a couple more classes, I'll have 2 degrees or double major. So that's why I did that. Also in my psychology studies, I was very interested in how religion informed or had something to do with psychosis. I'm not saying people who are religious are psychotic, but most psychotic people in America, there's a religious component to their hallucinatory aspect. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. And you're from the South. You went to William and Mary College.
I did.
Did you do any extracurriculars in college that kind of furthered your interest in music or kind of developed you more as a person?
Well, I did a lot of extracurriculars, but the main musical thrust was I was in a band called Ampersand. It was a synth pop band. If you think Depeche Mode,
Oh, I love that.
right before all that hit, it was early
wave.
80s. It was part of the whole new wave thing, and we had some success. There, Ampersand had a top 20. It was top 25 dance hit in 1987. None of us were still in the band at that point. This record charted after we broke up, but so that little bit of success there. But I was also in a blues band, and you asked me earlier if I was in the theater. Only as a musician in the band for
that.
Godspell in college. Yeah.
Godspell. Oh my gosh, that's so much
I'll
fun.
do the bass parts if you want to sing along.
So did you play bass in these bands?
I was mostly a bass player, yeah.
Okay, so you play bass, piano, anything else under your belt?
I can play guitar. I used to play guitar often until I suffered this tragic sea urchin injury on this finger here, so I can't really bend it that well.
Oh, wow.
And I play little drums. I started as a drummer,
that's
piano,
awesome.
and then went straight to bass.
So I'm hearing it's always been something that you've been interested in learning more about, from the behind the instrument to just
Right.
listening, engaging with music.
Absolutely.
Do you feel like being in a band, you were able to see different facets of music that kind of informed what the industry might be like professionally for you?
Not at all.
No.
No.
You're really focused on the music?
Well, in high school, it was all about, we played our own senior prom. It was all about getting a girl. You strap a guitar on to attract the ladies. That's what you did back in the day. I don't know how it works now with the social media and all that, but that's how you made yourself popular. If you weren't a jock, if you weren't this or that, you were a musician, you were cool to all the little subgroups in high school.
Yeah.
But never thought about the music business.
Interesting.
However, every band I've ever been in, I've been the manager, the publicity guy, the roadie. I took on those roles, so that gave me my first taste of all of that.
Yeah, I think that's definitely important too. Like all of that is information.
Right.
I feel that after graduating, people often feel the most young that they've ever felt. I know I felt this way when I graduated last year because suddenly you're without the framework of education. You have so many doors to open and there's so much things happening all times. You don't really know which way to turn. So how was that post-grad experience like for you?
Well, I got a big boy job in PR in DC after I graduated. I got together my high school musician friends and we reformed another band. We were fortunate to have one of the ex-members of Minor Threat, which is a huge hardcore. I think they were on the vanguard of hardcore back in the 80s. When they broke up, Ian went on to form Fugazi, and we got the bass player, and we had a band. And so my focus was on that band during that period of time. And that band eventually moved to LA, which brought me back out here.
Interesting. How was that working in DC as opposed to like maybe other regions? I feel like DC is very much its own kind of community.
It's a strange town, especially if you're a musician, because it's a commuter city. Everyone commutes to work and then goes home. And there's no real, at the time, there was no real, natural nightlife or kids going to clubs because you'd have to get back in your car and drive.
Everyone's got to drive the 40 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there wasn't that sort of ambient vibe going on. Like my daughter just moved home from Brooklyn and you walk down the street, there's something going on.
Oh, totally.
Right. Not DC, not at the time I was there. It's a lot different now.
Yeah.
But back in the day, that's why most of the bands that I came up with in the area, we got out of there.
Yeah.
So I had family here, so it made sense to come to LA.
So your first job being in PR is really interesting. I feel like after that religion and psychology studying, what was that decision like for you? Was it something that kind of just like was offered to you and you were like, you know what, well, let's try it?
Well, it wasn't my first job. My first job was in a state mental hospital working in the forensic ward where they locked the patients up. Because again, I wanted to pursue a degree, an advanced degree in psychology at the time.
Yeah.
I had volunteered at this hospital as part of a requirement for the degree, and the psychiatrist at this ward said, "Please come work for me when you graduate." So I did that for a couple years. Probably the most profound thing I've ever done in my life. It influenced everything after, and really helped me out in the music business.
Yeah.
Because you deal with a lot of intense situations.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
And after that, moved back to DC. My parents were up there, my siblings, and I actually got a job working for someone that I'd worked for part-time in the past, and he hired me as an account executive. It was like a little boutique PR shop.
Oh, that's awesome.
So politics and all the bad things. He had big tobacco, big pharma. If he's listening, hey, Albert.
Hi, Albert.
And, my dad was a lobbyist, and he always was on the wrong end of the issue. Like, he worked for the Glass Packaging Institute, and their motto was, throw them away, we'll make more. But when I asked him about that, he goes, well, these lost causes will keep me employed for many, many years.
Yeah,
so
playing the long game.
If you win the round, you're out of that gig. So.
Oh my gosh, that's so fascinating.
It was pretty interesting growing up, yeah.
I feel like being in close proximity to like intense mental illness does pave the way for a lot of compassion. I know for myself, I have some members in my family with extreme mental illness, and that I think kind of has shaped my perspective on how to approach situations sometimes. So I definitely hear that that's a skill that kind of transcends like one area or one place.
Absolutely. Yeah. You have to be patient, and in the hospital setting, you can't lose your temper. You're at a patient. These are patients.
Oh yeah.
And cancer patients or anyone with a physical ailment, their symptoms, we are sympathetic to their symptoms, but a mentally ill person, especially extreme, their symptoms are behavioral.
Yeah.
And when they're screaming and yelling at you and throwing things, you have to step out and say, that's a symptom of a disease.
Yeah, not personal.
Be patient.
Not personal.
But it's very, very difficult. We're humans. It's difficult to manage that.
Yeah, definitely. So going back into switching plans from psychiatry to be in a band, how did you know that you were making the right choice when you made that switch?
You never really know, unless you're uber confident in yourself. It's the band was always sort of a side project. I always envisioned having a job that paid the rent and bought food, whatnot. But The band was the dream. Music was the dream. And when we moved to LA, the band, we did pretty well for a few months and then broke up.
Yeah.
I knew that if I was going to sit in an office all day, I wanted to do something to do with music.
Yeah.
And, we didn't, I'm aging myself here if it's not obvious already. We didn't have the internets. I literally went to a library and found careers in the entertainment business at a library. And I cold called a guy who worked at Universal Pictures, and he answered the phone and he agreed to talk to me.
What?
And he was in HR, and
Oh my
and
gosh.
this guy kind of changed my life for the better, actually. Took the time to talk to a strange kid who found his name in a book. And the fact that his name was in a book and the book was years old and he was still there was,
Yeah.
and his contact information was in there. So he basically,
Kismet.
he explained to me that you're into music. He worked at Universal Pictures.
Right.
He goes, did you know there were music departments at film companies? I had no idea.
You're like, what?
He goes, yeah, they hire composers. This is a little bit of pre-sync as an industry.
Yeah.
So what we call needle drops, the use of pre-recorded music in film, was just starting to explode. But most of the music departments they hired composers, they hired arrangers, they supervised scoring sessions. But the burgeoning sync business was just bubbling up at the time. So the best advice he gave me, and this is advice I give a lot of my young people, my interns, my new assistants, or mostly college kids. How do I get my job? Interning is a great way to do it if you can get it. But this gentleman sent me to a temp agency who focused on entertainment clients. It's mostly actors, not wanting a full-time job, but wanting to work at MGM or at Warner, so be around it.
The proximity.
Yeah, exactly. So I signed up with these two, straight out of Central Casting, these two ladies that chain smoked, and they had a partner desk, and they stared at each other, and they talked like this, and kid, I'm going to send you to Warner Music. So they sent me to Warner Music, and I was home.
Yeah.
And I was a temp for the contract administration person, which is an entirely important job. We have our own contracts team here,
Oh, yeah.
but not up my alley. And fortunately, my future boss and mentor, the head of sync at Warner at the time, his assistant, he got his assistant an opening gig, his band opening for the Replacements on a national tour.
Oh.
So that guy was out,
Wait, love that.
and I was in. He hired me because the contract lady couldn't hire me at the time. So that all because I cold called a guy from the library book, sent me on this path.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That so many things just kind of sparked from that one moment.
It's kismet, or
Yeah.
fate, or whatever you want to call it.
I feel like there's kind of like a equivalent to that as well. Like just being not afraid to put yourself out there, just being unabashedly contacting people. I know for myself, like even reaching out on LinkedIn or Instagram or things like that, or friends of friends, getting their numbers, as long as you're making those active efforts to get to know people and kind of like plant those seeds in some ways, but just trying to find connections, really.
Absolutely.
Friendship connections, not just like superficial, I feel like that's like the most valuable thing you can do, because especially laterally, you never know where people might be. You want to have friends across LA. It's always good to have more friends. But yeah, I think just like messaging people goes a long way.
Right. I tell this to anyone who'll listen. We're in a relationship business, and it's so easy just to shoot an email to somebody or a
Yeah.
text. And I'm telling everyone, please just pick up the phone, call that person.
Yeah.
They'll ask you how your family is. They'll ask you if you have a dog. You'll get to know people that you can't do that on an email.
Yeah.
So we didn't have emails back in the prehistoric ages, like I was saying earlier. So you had to make those calls.
Yeah.
I used to get. Do they still have the Music Connection, that magazine? That was the Bible back in the day. You'd pick it up and they'd have an A&R guy interviewed, and I'd take down all these names and I'd cold call. And it's funny, some of the people I cold called, including the guy that was at Universal Pictures,
Yeah.
when I ended up here at MCA, which became Universal, he was still there. And I was
Wow.
able to go and say, dude, thank you so much.
Yeah.
He goes, what? I met you? Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So he was part of the HR team, until we left the studio and Universal when we got rid of them.
He didn't even know the impact that he had made on you.
I made sure he knew because
like I owe you everything.
Well, yeah, sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
For better or worse.
So how did you shift gears going from being a music maker to working in corporate music? Were there some adjustments that you made or some challenges you faced kind of accommodating to being at a desk and being more of the decision maker?
Well, fortunately, again, it's a mentorship business. It's an apprenticeship business. So
yeah.
You start at the bottom. Again, I come from a corporate world in DC, so I was used to sitting at the desk.
Right.
But the culture shock was, in those days we called them secretaries. I had 2 secretaries, my own office. I come here and basically, you want to get into the film business, kid. You want to get a bit. You start working. You apprentice.
Yeah.
Which is beautiful because if you find the right mentor, you're going to learn a lot more than you might learn in a class.
Yeah.
So I was lucky in that regard. It wasn't a hard shift to get back to your question, because music as a performer had always been, I'm going to work, and at night I'll do this.
Yeah.
So that lasted for a little while longer.
Yeah, I think having that mindset of just being able to approach several things at once and like having that background and knowing how to work in a corporate professional environment, all of that stuff, I feel like that really makes a multifaceted person and someone who would be a strong fit for this industry, because you have to be equal parts creative as well as organized, a good leader. There's so many traits that need to be present in someone beyond just, I really love music. Like there's so many traits that are admirable about that. So you did complete a postgraduate degree.
No, actually, I just took a few classes.
Oh, okay.
I get this question because I guess it's on my LinkedIn. During the time I was at the PR firm, between then and when me and the boys moved to LA, I sort of took some time off, and I can't sit idly by.
Yeah.
Everyone else had day jobs. I'm going to go back to school and learn music composition, study it further.
Yeah.
I took some music classes at school. That quickly turned into sculpture, photography, and art, because
sculpture.
I kind of bombed my
Making the David.
I bombed my piano recital.
Oh.
I took too big a bite of the apple. I tried to do Mussorgsky's Picture at an exhibition, which is really hard.
That sounds hard.
I worked at it, and I went to the audition, and I thought I bombed. And then, so I said, screw it. I've been photography for all my life. I'll take some photography classes. I want sculpting. Can you do that for a living? That's cool. So I took a sculpting class from a really cool guy.
Yeah.
And then I got a call from the head of the music department. Mr. Rowland, what happened to you? I thought you were signing up. I said, I bombed that audition. He goes, you took too big of a bite of the apple. You tried something really hard, but you didn't totally bomb. I'm like, well, thanks for the vote of confidence, but I really like my classes here. So
yeah,
that's kind of, but I only did a semester, maybe a semester and a half, and then we moved to LA. So it wasn't a postgraduate degree.
Yeah, I actually did something similar. I took UCLA has an extension course for music supervision where you learn about sync supervision, all those things, run by Ryan Kaufman, who works at Fox in music supervision. I recommend this to viewers who might be interested in learning more about this, just because it's a remote class, so you can join from anywhere in the world, which I think is really fascinating. It's like 6 weeks or something, but if you have that itch to keep learning about something like that would be a great fit for listeners. So I did want to talk a little bit about the role of a sync agent versus a music supervisor. You also mentioned needle drops earlier. There's a lot of technical terms, but we can get into what is the role of a sync agent versus a music supervisor first.
Well, if by sync agent you mean what we do here.
Yes.
Well, it's like hand in glove. So in the old days, we used to go out proactively and say, hey, what are you working on? What movie you're doing? And we would, have the relationship. Again, that's very important.
Yeah.
Or they would come to us and saying, we're looking for this, we're looking for that. What do you have? Being at a company this size, we're across every project going on in town.
Everything.
Because we have every genre, we have every, we're huge. We have the biggest catalog in the world.
Yeah.
And the best, I must point out. So anymore, that if they want something, that they know where to go and they just walk in the door. That's our department is divided into deal makers and creative people. The
Okay.
deal makers, they do all the negotiation. If you're at Fox and you want Guns N' Roses, you come in and you negotiate that with one of my guys or
Okay.
girls. And it's a complicated job. We need artist consent, which is again a relationship thing. We need label head consent for the most part, depending
Yeah.
on which label they're on. And then it's a negotiation.
Yeah.
You have to wrangle over money.
Totally.
And sometimes it's easy because the artist wants X and they're not going to budge. And our team can just say, it's either that or nothing, sorry. But it is a delicate job. And it's they're responsible for a lot of revenue coming into this building. The other side is our creative team. They go out and proactively pitch our priorities. We meet with the labels. We meet with the UK team. We create custom remixes to pitch, and so they're across all the music supervisors and what they're looking at. But anymore, a request that comes in for a specific track, like I mentioned with the deal makers, now we're getting what we call creative briefs.
Yeah.
So similarly, the music supervisor is sending an email out to 50 of their best friends saying, I'm looking for a female, late 90s, up-tempo, blah, 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 blah. And our job then basically is to send them a playlist
Yeah.
that fulfills that criteria.
How long would that playlist be?
Well, when I was at Warner's back in I was taught to pitch one song or 3 songs.
I feel like one song is stressful.
Well,
'cause
it
what
was
if
like
it
pitch
is
the
not-
best one, but no, I don't work there anymore for a lot of reasons. I think a healthy playlist is the size of a regular album, 10 to 12 tracks. If you send them 50 songs, are they going to listen to them?
They're not going to listen to all of them.
If you send just the one, you're going to be sending one every, that didn't work. Next, so, that's about the size of a playlist on Spotify, I guess, but I guess they can be pretty long.
I like that. I feel like that's enough for them to kind of take different angles and like see what those different approaches might be. Because if you send one song and they don't like it, then it's like, oh, well, then you kind of wasted your shot a little bit.
Right. Well, that's very important because, I've heard horror stories, not from my team, but when the briefs go out, and actually I use this as a sort of an assignment for our intern class. We had 25 or so incredibly talented kids that wanted to be in sync, and I could not decide which 2 to choose. So I threw out an assignment. And this happens every day in our real world. I gave them an assignment to come up with a playlist or come up with one song to fit a creative brief that we were actually working on. It was a promo for Poker Face. And
It's a good show.
and I said, these are the criteria. The rule is it's got to be a UMG master. It's got to be, from the late 70s, early 80s. It's got to be blah, 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 blah. And the 2 we ended up hiring followed the instructions to a T.
Love it.
Several of the students picked the song that ultimately got used.
Oh.
But it wasn't UMG. Oops, pardon me.
Oh,
so
that's so
I
interesting.
kind of, scratch them up. So you have to be precise when they come to you with a brief. Otherwise, they won't come back.
Yeah.
Tom's team, they always pitch the wrong thing. So it's very important that we serve the client.
You need to follow all the instructions.
Right.
So I feel like it really is a superpower in sync to have a really wide range of music that you listen to, just because there can be so many different pitches that come your way.
Right.
I even just thinking of like, oh, if someone sent me something that was like, we're looking for a dramatic female power ballad from the 60s, I'm like, I don't even know where I would start. But I feel like that would be like a really good skill to kind of develop if you're interested in pursuing sync.
Well, you have to like music.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people in the business, who, I don't know if they like music.
Yeah.
They like the business. But you really have to be one of those geeks going through the bins at the record stores.
Yeah.
Several people on my team, they're those people. They can tell you who the third engineer was on that record that came out.
That's awesome.
They're just that way.
Yeah.
I'm kind of that way for the things I like.
Yeah.
But I'm very fortunate. Our team is comprised of many different people who like different things. So if I need that synth pop, idea, I'll go into so-and-so's office and they'll know right off the top of their heads.
Yeah.
And, I tell everyone, you're going to Google things. You're going to try to do your research, but there's no harm in walk into my office and ask me, did we have Guns N' Roses in 85? It says Warner. Well, because Warner had Geffen at one point, blah, blah. Just ask me.
Oh, my God.
Instead of spending an hour to Google this, come talk to me.
Yeah.
So there's some institutional knowledge. In fact, a point of pride, if you visit our offices, there are four of us aligned in a row whose combined tenure here at this company is over 125 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's are we ready for the pasture? I don't know, but institutional knowledge is rampant on my team, which is good.
Yeah.
And it speaks to, Universal. They want to be here.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of turnover.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I feel like that, honestly, that's really inspiring to hear, because I feel like a lot of what I hear as a young person is like, if you want to be successful, there's a lot of hopping companies to see like if you can get a better deal somewhere else. And sometimes that is true, but I feel like there is something to being at a company for a long time and really like sowing those seeds, and for you having a department that you trust so completely, that's very valuable.
Oh yeah, it's essential.
So I would love to hear a little bit more about the pitch process. Also, how might a director affect the music process if you're let me think of an example. If you're working on a film and maybe the director has a very specific vision for like a song from the early 2000s or something, and that's not something that's feasible financially or something, you need to give them more options. How might they influence what that might look like?
Well, the director's the boss, basically. The bad news for us now is, or good news, they're very involved in the process. So the mystique of music supervision, and it used to be true in the old days. A dear friend just passed away, one of the godfathers of music supervision, a person named Joel Sill, who did one of the first needle drop films, Easy Rider, which was on MCA Records, the soundtrack. He took music popular at the time, Steppenwolf, The Byrds, and that was the soundtrack to the film.
Wow.
As opposed to traditionally a composer created the soundtrack to the film and the musicals, but that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
So back in the day, directors who knew film and knew all that maybe didn't know music or how to navigate in that. They would hire a music people. Most of the early music supervisors were old A&M Records execs or from, and so they knew music and they knew how to get hold of the artist. But anymore, in the entire production team as well, they're very music savvy.
Yeah.
So we were partners with This Is Us, the NBC show.
Oh, yeah.
We knew the music supervisor. We would go to production meetings. We would script readings. And we could pitch the best songs. You'd be going, oh, my God, that'd be... But there's 10 people there making a decision.
Yeah.
So the mystique of supervision, I think, for the most part, is these people they're facilitators.
Right.
So you're a music supervisor. You need that perfect song for that perfect scene with these criteria.
Yeah.
You send the email out to all your publishing friends,
Yeah.
your record company friends, comes back. Your job then is to collate your own playlist and then go pitch it to the production team or to the director.
So get the cream of the crop,
so
deliver that
involved,
to the big man. That's so interesting. I didn't realize so many people might have their hands on it. I know there's like music editors too that might play a role in this.
Oh, entirely. In fact, we were smart about 15 years ago. We started hiring trailer composers to remix our classic repertoire and then put it in the trailer they were working on. So they were getting paid to create a trailer. We paid them to create a remix, which we own entirely after that.
Yeah.
And that became an industry for us. Trailerizations, or sync remixes, as we call them.
Yeah.
It became a big business. But back to your director question, I was very fortunate to be hired for free as Rob Zombie's music supervisor when he was one of our artists. And part of the deal was, I'd get him friends and family rates if I could with Universal Music. We would get the soundtrack. It was part of this deal. Of course, everything I sent him, he'd go, well, what about this? Because he's a musician. And he's an artiste and a director.
Yeah.
So he had very, 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 very strong opinions on what music. So it was hard for me as the, quote, music supervisor to impose what I thought was the best choice because Rob had a very strong opinion about it. So
yeah.
So they are involved.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
We did get a good question in the chat. How does it work when artists have their songs played at sporting events? Are those blanket licensing deals?
For the most part, yes. So every venue, and unfortunately in the United States, we don't have a performance royalty for recording artists. Only the songwriters benefit
okay.
from an ASCAP license or
Yeah.
a BMI license. So when I keep going to Guns N' Roses, so if Welcome to the Jungle is played in a stadium, that stadium has a blanket performance license.
Oh, interesting.
Bars are supposed to. I remember playing in bars and they didn't have a license and we weren't allowed to play covers.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of situation. But
Yeah.
fortunately, with the Digital Millennial Act, with Sirius and the digital platforms, we do get a performance on those.
So ASCAP and BMI, for those who might not know, are performing rights organizations. So they're going to be the people who are going to be dealing out those royalties and getting people the cuts from when their songs are played. That's really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
So how does the sync process differ for TV than from film? Because like TV is, there's going to be a lot more episodes to kind of fill in the music for, whereas film might be, not as many slots, probably a higher budget. There's a different vibe.
Right. Well, back in the old days, I'll keep saying that. When someone came to us to license a track for TV, there are a suite of rights that they're requested. For TV back in the day, they wanted a 5-year license, U.S. only. U.S. only 5-year license on broadcast media.
Yeah.
Whatever you go buy a TV, turn it on, that's broadcast media. There was no cable or anything yet. Well, their cable was there, but they didn't want those rights.
Okay.
They assumed that their TV shows would have its run and go away. Who would want to watch Miami Vice on a DVD?
See?
Well, so we were smart, and a lot of these studios, they try to put language in the contracts that said, future technologies. We want it for free TV and, all technologies here and after devised. No. We don't know what that means.
Yeah.
If you want free TV, we'll give you free TV.
Yeah.
So as you just probably figured out,
Yeah.
We've made a lot of money off shows that we licensed music to back in the 80s and 90s
Yeah.
who don't have licenses to run Miami Vice on Netflix. They don't
Yeah.
have the rights.
Yeah.
There's a show, famously Wonder Years, which was packed with music. Where is it? It's not anywhere because
I'm looking.
to re-clear that show would be so exorbitantly expensive.
So fascinating.
So TV got smart and they started asking for perpetual licenses across all media.
Yes.
And funny, back to the old days, they would also ask for a foreign theatrical option. And what is that? So they used to package American TV in like 2-hour chunks of Friends. And then Italian cinema would play them. And you'd go to the movies in Italy and watch 2 hours of Friends.
What?
So they had the right to do that, but they didn't have the right to put it on Netflix or whatever.
Wow.
So I think we've cleaned up all of those old deals. And,
Yeah.
unfortunately, because it was a windfall for us. But
Yeah.
so TV is very fast paced, deadline oriented. Our TV team, they're very, very, very busy.
Yeah.
With the advent of streaming media, there are no longer just 3 channels. There's no longer just a few cable channels. There are myriad channels.
Yeah.
All hitting us up for their shows. So
Yeah.
our TV team, they're heroes. And because all the TV shows now, you mentioned bigger budgets on film, true, but because they now need all rights in perpetuity, they're not paying a few $1,000s for the 5-year, they're paying tens of thousands of dollars for the perpetual rights. So,
Right.
so that's changed. But film, it's a little easier paced for my film team. They don't, everyone's under budget. Everyone needs an answer yesterday. But, when the film's coming out in 6 months, there's a little more time.
Yeah, you can sit on it.
Exactly. But it's funny. Sometimes they're cutting the film up until the day they ship the thing.
Yeah.
So one of our challenges is we try to communicate to the frontline labels who have sync marketing teams for the most part. I work for UME, the catalog division. We try to communicate to them when there's a significant sync about to happen.
Yeah.
And sometimes we can't give them a heads up far enough in advance because we just don't know.
Yeah.
They're cutting that film Thursday. This thing ships out on, well, now it's digital, I guess, but they're still working on this
Crazy.
thing, up until ship date. But so it's a bit of a challenge.
So then for the sync process, is that typically prepared ahead of the post-production process? Because I used to work at Company 3, which is a big post-production house here in LA. We would have a music supervisor come in for one of our Netflix shows every now and again, which kind of struck me as interesting because I didn't see a bunch of music people ever in the building. It was mainly editors, post-producers. But yeah, is that something that you kind of try to wrap up before we get to that point, or?
It's usually an afterthought.
Yeah.
Especially as far as budgets are concerned.
Yeah.
Oh, you're doing a music documentary about, all the music released in 1987, but you have no music budget?
Yeah.
We run up against this all the time. So it's a post-production function for the most part. The music supervisor may have to navigate an on-screen, the character is singing along to something, or the director needs that track in because it's scripted. And that's tricky because they need, what if they shoot the thing and they don't clear it up front, and it doesn't get approved, then they're in trouble. And that's happened plenty of times.
Yeah. And something interesting you brought up, a character could be singing in a movie or a TV show. There's so many different types of placements. Like there could be music playing in the background of a shop a character walks into, or someone who picks up a guitar and starts playing a Beatles song.
Right.
Or like a karaoke scene. I can't, there's just so many unique circumstances that you can encounter that all influence this pitching process.
And it influences the price.
Yeah.
So if you're driving down the road in your car and you're a character in a film and you turn the radio on, that costs more than it's just somewhere in the background.
Interesting.
It's a visual sort. You see them turn the radio on. If the character is singing, clearly it's a more important use than somewhere in the background in a bar.
Yeah.
So there's background vocal, there's background instrumental, there's a visual vocal where we see the person. We have all these little factors that influence our decision, our fees.
Yeah, I feel like if the music is the main focus of the scene, obviously that's gonna draw a lot more focus in than for something that might just be playing quietly. So are there certain trends for types of songs that people are looking for in different genres? Like if you're seeing like a rom-com movie or something, is there like a certain type of like artist or verbiage that you see a lot in that pitching process?
It depends on the project. I mean, clearly if you're a Billie Eilish or a Lady Gaga with a hit out there, we're going to get a lot of requests for that.
Right.
For those. But it really is project specific. So many projects are period based. So they want songs from the 70s. Even if it's set now, they won't want songs from the 70s because Dad just walked in and he plays the Beatles or whatever. So it's all over the map, but we license more catalog material than anything else. It's about 80% of all of our licenses.
Wow.
And when you think about it, people my age, people of all ages who love music, they're using the music that they're familiar with. So directors who are 50 years old or 60 years old, they're using Beatles, they're using The Who, they're using the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
As the younger generation comes up, we might see more focus on more contemporary, or at least the last 15 years.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting phenomenon.
Yeah, I feel like I can totally see how those catalog artists would make someone like perk up as a viewer too.
Right.
Like I know for myself, watching Wednesday on Netflix, they have some like cello covers of famous rock songs, and whenever those came on, even though it was in a different format, I was like, I know that song, and it makes me like tune in more to what I'm watching. So I think that value is very true to like what that impact is.
Absolutely. And there's an ancillary uplift with streaming. You guys have your Shazams, and what was that? Oh my goodness! And you go stream it.
Yeah.
So that's why we like to give our labels heads up about uses, because they'll activate marketing plans around a sync if we all think it's significant enough.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So was there a moment where you were unsure of what to use in a movie or TV show, and how did you decide what that song would be?
Well, we're never unsure because we're giving the person actually making that decision plenty of options. So that would be their problem.
10 to 12.
Yeah, exactly.
So you never really encounter that because you've set yourself up for
Well, we're giving them options, and if they're having that problem, but we have such a wonderful catalog. There's no scarcity of ideas.
Yeah, totally.
To choose from, or genres.
Yeah, that's a great point. so you worked in music at a couple different companies before moving to Universal Music Group. I wanted to touch on this a little bit more. Were there any skills that you developed at those companies that when you came here, you felt they had prepared you for Universal Music Group? Or I feel like there's no mistakes sometimes that we make sometimes. And even though there's different journeys you can go on, where you end up ultimately was a product of all those learned experiences. So I'd love to hear about maybe what those lessons were.
Well, I really only worked at Warner before I came here. But back to my mental hospital reference, that taught me patience and dealing with extremely difficult people.
Yeah.
And, you know, in any field, in any industry, they're going to be difficult people.
Yes.
But when you're involved in the entertainment industry, there's actors and rock stars.
Lots of ego.
A lot of egos involved.
Yeah.
And, you know, even among us executives, who knows? People are people. There's a lot of different types.
Yes.
That taught me patience and, you know, gratitude, because I was somewhat sane myself at the time. But I tell all my young people, mentors come in all shapes and sizes. I've learned more lessons from people I do not ever want to be like.
Oh, interesting.
Than people I want to emulate. So, you know, I love Warner Records. It was the best label in the world at the time I left it.
Yeah.
They had all my favorite artists, Talking Heads, Peter Gabriel, you know, B-52s. And I came to MCA, which, you know, used to be referred to as the Music Cemetery of America. But it became all this.
I've never heard that.
But, you
That's
know,
so funny.
thankfully they had Elton John, one of my favorite artists of all time. We had Tom Petty. But it was hard to leave Warner. But it was easy to leave Warner because my, call him an anti-mentor, was there. The head of that company was someone I would never want to emulate. My immediate boss mentor was fantastic.
Yeah.
He was an attorney who knew everything about music and everything about film, could talk to you about, you know, Citizen Kane and why the lighting, and the guy was a genius.
Yeah.
And until very recently, he was there for 45 years.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be like him, didn't want to be like his boss, came here. So those lessons taught me hopefully how to deal with people in positive way. I've been very fortunate here to have very strong mentors in this building.
Yeah.
So peers, you know, they don't have to be your boss to be a mentor, right?
Yeah, you can learn from the person at the cubicle next to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point about also learning from those moments where you're like, wow, I feel like I could have appreciated leadership in a different sort of way, and like taking those maybe frustrations and turning them into information how to make your own trajectory more strong.
Right.
I think it's valuable to sometimes pause and kind of assess where you're at, and if you aspire to be like the people you're working for and the people who have been there, you know, giving their blood to this company, I think that's a really great sign. I think I'm fortunate here at 1824 to be surrounded by people who are great mentors and are great leaders, and that I look up to. And I think if you're ever somewhere and you're like, I don't really think I want to have a life like what they might be exhibiting, I think that could be a good sign that maybe that's not the place for you.
Right, right.
So, how does a movie or a TV show with a set score compare to a movie that maybe has a clean slate? I wanted to touch specifically about some movies that have turned into some musicals that maybe have been turned into movies. We talked about Wicked a little bit. Obviously, that was a Broadway musical for like 20 years with like Mark Platt, NBC. They're doing that whole thing, and then it was made into a film. There were some adjustments in that score as compared to the Broadway musical, you know, some more dance breaks, some extra riffs or vocal moments that they wanted to showcase. How was that process for you, kind of working with something that was already its own beast and then making something new from it?
Well, we weren't involved that much in those projects because there were very few needle drops, as it were.
Yes.
This is the traditional music department at a film studio's primary role, is to adapt something like that.
Yeah.
So composers, they would hire songwriters. I represent recording artists, not songwriters per se.
Yeah.
So we weren't as involved in that, but I think a parallel example might be Pitch Perfect.
Oh, yes.
It was
Classic.
It was not your typical soundtrack album that a label would have wanted.
Yeah.
And I had my creative head at the time begged me to go see a screening of this at Universal. And I'm like, okay, because at the time, to drive to Universal from here is like,
Oh my God, it's like 2 hours.
Plus the screening, it's like, there goes the day.
Yeah.
Which is funny because back in the old days, we used to go to screenings all the time.
Yeah.
Now they'll send us a link to a scene or whatever. But so we went there, and every single major label person was there to watch this screening.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is fantastic.
It's a great movie.
But it didn't really fit in with the standard soundtrack of needle drops. Like we're gonna put the new Billie Eilish single tie-in with the thing. It wasn't that, because these weren't our songs.
No.
They were mashups. So I came back and pitched it to my team, UME, and a very difficult decision was made to try to clear mashups to release on an album. Ooh. And it was extremely difficult process. But consequently, we did it. And, talking to publishers and recording artists, that we're going to take your song and mush it up with this. And we couldn't show them the movie to tell them what it was going to be about. But we somehow figured it out. And as you know, that franchise was very successful for us.
Yes. Yeah. I feel like just imagining those riff-offs, which is like those mashups in the movies, there's like 5, 6, 7 songs per riff off, and like even explaining that to someone, like, oh, there's a bunch of a cappella kids fighting each other with songs, like I feel like that would make me
really
pull
difficult.
my hair out.
Yeah, it's really difficult explaining to an artist how something's going to go unless they hear it.
Yeah.
But fortunately, at this point, all that had been cleared for the film by those film people.
Yeah.
We had to re-clear it to put on a soundtrack, because they didn't clear those rights at the time, which would have been great.
Yeah.
So, but it wasn't your typical soundtrack, so it was, none of the other labels touched it. They didn't want anything to do with it. They didn't understand it.
Yeah. It was one of the first of its kind, I would say. When I saw that was like completely new to me. But yeah, I would say that for like Gen Z, like everyone I know knows that album. Okay, cool. So I would love for you to speak on the Heartstrings Foundation. You're a founding board member. Could you give us a little bit of information on the organization and what inspired you to create it?
Well, it was created by my 14-year-old daughter. She was 14 at the time. She's a songwriter, musician, and my father was basically on his deathbed, and my daughter performed for him on the ukulele. It was very comforting, and it was heartfelt.
Yeah.
And she wanted to do something with music, with this cute little instrument, the ukulele.
Yeah.
Which, if you don't play music, could be taught to you in 10 minutes.
The easiest instrument.
We call it a gateway musical drug. So she decided, she got her high school friends together to start Heartstrings. And I did sort of the background work. I got it incorporated, so it's a nonprofit organization.
Yeah.
Which is challenging. I'm not an attorney, although I play one at work sometimes.
Yeah.
So we got the designation, the IRS designation. We went out and got the most fantastic board of directors. A Grammy Award-winning instrumentalist who plays with Frank Zappa. The man who ran Universal Music Group Moscow. He was the first person to open a Western music company in Russia after the wall fell, after the Soviet Union blocked. He's a great guy. So he's on the board. We just lost one of our board members, Bud Carr, who is one of the founding fathers of music supervision. He recently passed, but he was on the board. And through him, he took my daughter and I to the NAMM show, which, if you're a music geek, it happens all over the country, but the one in Anaheim is like a feeding frenzy of artists from all over the world to come check out the new gear.
Yeah.
And Bud and his friend John Carey, who's also on the board, took my daughter and I to NAMM for 2 days and introduced us to 35 musical instrument manufacturers to see what they could do. And only one said, we're not interested. The rest, like, what can we do? How many ukes do you need? Where can we send these?
That's awesome.
It's like they just lined up. Testament to my daughter, who's very, very charming. And everyone just wants to help her. and in that regard. But she went off to college and they started chapters of Heartstrings. So she went to my alma mater in Virginia, started that chapter.
Wow.
And the goal of Heartstrings is to raise money to buy ukuleles, go into hospitals, Children's Hospital. We work closely with City of Hope. We work closely with the music therapists at these organizations.
Yeah.
Roger Daltrey and Pete Townsend have an organization here called Teen Cancer America, which is beautiful because, certain cancers are sexier than others as far as fundraising.
Yeah.
Teenagers are sort of the lost generation. They're not children. They're not, so they focus on teenagers, which is wonderful. So we've worked with them. But the beauty of Heartstrings is they go in, teach the kids to play some songs, and then give them the instrument. It's theirs to keep forever. So we're very happy with the support we've gotten from musical instrument people. And we have a few angels that every year just write a check to Heartstrings. So we work with this organization through my contacts at Nike in Portland. It's called Music RX, or Music Prescription. And I get an email every once in a while say, can you send a ukulele to this kid in Birmingham, Alabama? No problem.
Yes.
So we do that. So that's Heartstrings. I'm just the secretary on the board. My daughter's the one that...
She's running it.
Yeah, and she just, like I said, just moved back from Brooklyn, moved back home, and we're looking forward to doubling down on the efforts that we've started.
I love that. I feel like it's no secret that music is really healing.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think with the ukulele specifically, because they are so easy to pick up, someone could use that as an escape going through a hard time.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
I really loved hearing about that.
And it's cute.
It is. It's cute. It's glamorous.
You walk in with a uke and they just start smiling. Like, what is that?
Yeah. Fits everyone. I feel like guitars would be hard. It's like too much going on.
Exactly.
No, that's awesome. There's a class at USC that does a clowning. Like they the students learn about clowning and then they go to hospitals and they perform
They do clown
clowning.
stuff?
Yeah, I was like, that sounds kind of funny.
In clown garb?
Like literally with the nose.
Right.
Yeah. But I think in moments like that, it's really nice to see community coming together to support people.
Right.
So you've been working in music for a couple decades. Lots has changed with streaming, as we talked about earlier, just with like people not knowing that their TV shows would be, seen later on. Lots has changed with film and TV production and more. What is the biggest difference in music now in comparison to 20 years ago?
Well, the obvious answer for me is the influence of hip hop on popular music. It used to be a unique genre in and of itself. The way it's influenced pop music, I think has been fantastic. Bands like Rage Against the Machine, utilized hip hop. Beastie Boys, I think, went the other way. They started hip hop and they went rock and roll and kept hip hop. There's an Irish band called Kneecap. If you're not familiar with them, they're crazy. They sing in what you all would call Gaelic, but it's hip hop.
Yeah,
and it's Irish protest music. And it's interesting, but so that's the biggest change for me is how hip hop has become mainstream. It's become just one other element that we can add to our music, whether you're a rock and roll guy or a jazz singer, really. I mean, scat, is that hip hop from the 40s? Probably the first rappers were Ella Fitzgerald and the Scatters, I guess.
It's actually interesting to think about.
Just popped into my head, so we should dive into that one. Other than that, I think just the way music is consumed.
Yeah.
And to me, one of my biggest joys is how, like, my daughter came in with a box of LPs from the garage. She goes, "Dad, what are these doing in the garage?" I go, "I don't even have a record player anymore. I listen to Spotify, Dad." So I got a turntable, and now we have all these albums on display. I love how young people have rediscovered that format, and I'm amazed that. And we just had an offsite where some stats were presented to us how it's okay now for young people to like their dad's music, whereas maybe a 30-year-old would like, "Oh, Dad," and he like when we grew up, "Dad, turn that Sinatra off. I want to hear the Beatles."
Yeah.
But now it's okay to like the Beatles. We were told that whatever generation we're in now, is it Z or whatever?
Oh my God, I don't know. Alpha?
I've lost track. That it's okay for them to like the Beatles.
Yeah, I totally hear that.
And
I
they
remember
got the T-shirts too. They walk around with.
I actually have a Beatles t-shirt
there you
somewhere. But my dad, whenever he would drive me, he would always play Neil Young, and I used to not be into that. I was like, Dad, come on, put on like, I don't even know, like Five Sauce or something. But now I'm like, Harvest Moon is such a beautiful song. Like that will be at my wedding.
And in 50 years, you're going to hear that. And like I was saying with my mom in musicals, like, I hated them.
Yeah.
You know,
like, why are they singing like that?
Like we don't walk around the street and then burst into song. And that is weird to me as a kid. But now I listen to them and it's all about the memories, right?
Okay, cool. So do you feel that it is possible to work and sync in other cities, or is LA the place to be in TV film sync? Just thinking of our college students, where people might want to relocate after graduating.
Right. Well, you know, COVID and Zoom proved that we can work anywhere, basically.
Yeah.
But if you really want to be in certain industries, I think you should go to the pond where the fish are biting.
Yeah.
And it's about back to the relationship thing. I was very, very fortunate in my early career to have very intimate relationships with people who are now running Universal Pictures music department.
Awesome.
They were someone's assistant at some point.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to get that working remotely from Secaucus, New Jersey.
Yep.
But I have a staff in New York. Mm-hmm. New York's a great place for sync, especially in the ad world, but there are film companies that work out of New York.
Right.
I would love to have someone in Chicago
Yeah.
because of the ad scenario. Nashville, don't cross Nashville. There are music supervisors who live in Nashville. Mm-hmm. Every music supervisor here and everyone who lives here loves going to Nashville. So it's not like, no, in the old days it was, that's country. No, it's Music City.
Yeah.
But I believe you can work anywhere because all of our tools are digital. We use Disco, a platform which everyone uses, which is amazing that it caught on with everyone.
Right.
It can be done from your closet for the most part, but to get the intimate relationships going, I think you need to be in the same room with people, or the same town, if you will.
Yeah, I think going and doing internships in cities like this, if that's feasible for you, would be a great idea, just to test to see if you like the community, like the culture, because I think that face-to-face time is just invaluable.
Absolutely.
So what is your favorite project you've worked on, and why? Hard question.
Oh, and then I'm going to upset so many people. Well, I mentioned the Rob Zombie projects. That I won't go into that, but that was a privilege to.
Yeah.
And there's this thing on IMDb, that internet, the star meter.
Oh yeah.
If you're.
I love that.
If you're like Brad Pitt, you're like number 3 or whatever. Mm-hmm. For a time, I was in the 100,000s because of my association with Rob Zombie.
There you go.
Don't look me up now. It's probably not on there, but so that was fun. But years ago, probably 2008 or so, a commercial client came to us for a Motown song. Mm-hmm. I'll Be There, Jackson 5.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful song for a commercial, a heartfelt commercial. But they came and said that the instrumentation of this recording is interfering with the dialogue. Can you get rid of it? I'm like...
The instrumentation?
The orchestration, I should say.
Oh, okay.
Pardon me. The violins and the overly saccharine filling or whatever.
Yeah.
It was Memorial Day weekend. I had the multi-tracks. I went home. I have a studio at my house. And I just played around with it. And I basically got rid of everything except, because I'm a bass player, James Jamerson on bass. There's a 12-string guitar on that song. You'd never know. So I kept that, the bass, and Michael and Jermaine, the vocalist. And it was beautiful.
Oh, I love that.
And we landed it in the commercial. And speaking of stripped, our chairman at the time said, "This sounds great. Do some more of these. We'll put a whole record out." So I got with some other colleagues. Went to a big boy studio.
Yeah. And
we did an entire record of. We became Michael Jackson stripped, but mostly Jackson 5.
Wow.
I thought it was a beautiful album. Unfortunately, and it was great working with real engineer guys and getting a producer credit and whatnot. But unfortunately, he passed away right before we released this album.
Oh, wow.
And, I've gotten threats in my life, but not to my eternal soul. We were accused of exploiting a terrible, but they thought it was Sony. Sony, you're going straight to the dark place for doing this. I'm like, okay, at least
you're hiding.
They think it's Michael Jackson's label that did this. It was, God. But his old label. So the record I didn't win a Grammy for remix. it was a pride. I'm very proud of that project. It did sell, and it's still on the Spotify's if anyone wants to check it out. But that was a very fun project.
Yeah, maybe a little bit misunderstood, but
The timing was bad.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Just bad timing.
Yeah, that sounds like an incredible creative process.
It was really
just being
fun.
able to be in that room.
And it sort of spawned. I mentioned earlier we do sync remixes.
Yeah.
We hire remix composers out there. We've got dozens and dozens and dozens of what we call trailerized or sync remixes that the artist might hear it and go, I don't like it. Well, it's not being commercially released. It's going to be put in a trailer.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should tell this story. It might embarrass one of the artists, but there was a famous band who we trailerized one of their famous songs. And
take a guess in the chat. I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay. If you can figure, I'm going to be as vague as I possibly can. Let's say there's a singer, a guitarist, and a drummer in the band. You can do the math there.
All right.
After the trailer composer got done trailerizing it, it was just the singer and some spooky music. And the singer said, "Oh, that's great. I don't get it, but trust you. Go ahead, license it."
Yeah.
And it would have been that band's master license for everyone.
Oh, okay.
The lawyer representing the other two said they don't like it. Where's the drums? Where's the guitar? I said, look, it fits the trailer.
Yeah.
You're still gonna get paid. It's a blank master.
Yeah.
And he said no. So I went back to the singer who was in the studio at the time. He goes, oh, I'll knock out another version.
Yeah.
And since she was still signed to the label, we owned what he created. So when that thing aired, I got a call from that lawyer saying, I thought I told you no. I go, oh, you did? Well, why'd you use it? Oh, that's not a blank master. That's a solo singer master now. Ooh. And then he said, how much did you get? And when I told him, he's like, let me know when you want to do another one.
Oh, my God.
Money changes everything in our business.
He's like, suddenly I like the sound of it.
Exactly. Even though he knew the money going in, because I'm not going to pitch something that we can't clear. That's the kiss of death.
Yeah.
If I say, you can use this song, and then, the artist doesn't want to do it, we have to kind of pre-clear things before we pitch.
Yeah, I feel like that do you know Andrew Leff? He's a professor at USC.
I don't.
He teaches the music law class.
Okay.
And he was a manager previously for a couple like metal bands, and he said that occasionally for a band that he was managing, it was 4 people, they would ask him to break the tie in the case of any dispute. So like 2 of them hated him, the other 2 loved him, and he said it was horrible. And then when he finally quit, he said he dug a hole in his front yard and burned everything, like burned the vinyl. He was like, I can't do this. Leff mention.
Very cathartic, burning things.
Very, very cathartic. But yeah, I think there's a very intentional process of having everything very clearly divvied up within the band so that things like that don't arise. We're just about at time, but I have 2 final questions for you. How can people looking to get into film and TV music get started? I know we talked about internships a little bit. What would your advice be about maybe people learning more about this or opportunities that maybe people don't know about?
Yeah, it used to be, again, I started as a temp. I would give people the contact info for these 2 ladies. I don't know if they're still around. Yeah. Our company and every major entertainment company utilizes a temp agency. Mm-hmm. So I tell people who want to get their foot in the door, sign up for the temp agency.
Yeah.
If the A&R team down there in this label need a temp, they're going to call this temp agency and send you over. Yeah. And then be the first one there, the last one to leave, and work really hard and get noticed. Yeah. I don't know how viable that route is anymore because it's been a long time. Internships are great, but unfortunately, most of the people getting internships in this town, they go to SC, they go to UCLA. Yeah. A kid from my alma mater, it's a lot harder for them. They have to find a place to live. Yeah. They're coming from Virginia. So internship is a fantastic way to get your foot in the door. It's just so limited to most students out there.
I agree.
I tell all these student composers, how do I get started? How do I become? I said, do a student film. Be the composer on your buddy's film. He may be the next Spielberg. Yeah. And you may be the next Danny Elfman. Tim Burton was an Oingo Boingo fan. That's how that whole thing started.
Oh, yeah.
So there's all kind of ways in. But unfortunately, it's gotten to be a very busy industry. Everyone thinks, wow, a music supervisor, what is that? Well, 10 years ago, no one probably knew what that was. Now you can get a college degree in music, or at least take courses at SC.
Yeah.
I know the person who teaches that course. So there are a lot of people who want to get in. And unfortunately, a lot of the studios are downsizing. So there are a lot of very talented, experienced people on the street right now looking for jobs, looking for a way to get in. And that sort of pushes out the young people who want to come in and give it a shot. So it's a tough business. My advice would be just keep at it. And the idea of pick up the phone, harass people politely, respectfully, but diligence will pay off if you persevere. I get so many emails through LinkedIn, which I'm not on LinkedIn because I'm not looking for a job. If anyone's, but I do get texts or emails from LinkedIn, and it's all the same question, and it's a tough one to answer.
Yeah,
it's a very competitive landscape out there right now.
Yeah, I think for myself, I went to USC and I studied theater, entertainment industry, and music industry. I was applying to 20, 30, 40 internships, and there were semesters where I didn't land anything, or I had to take an unpaid internship.
Right.
And it is about those relationships that you cultivate. And I think if you're not in California, I think that's a great idea. Getting started on a student film, just being creative with your friends, because you never know where that could take you. I know so many people who started making short films with their friends, and now they're on set on these huge projects. And it's you had to start somewhere, and you're never going to be too big for a project if you're excited about it.
Absolutely.
I think you actually covered my next question. So I think that's it for today. Thanks so much for joining us, Tom.
You're welcome.
All right, guys. Thank Tom in the chat, and we'll see you next Tuesday on Behind the Business. Thanks so much for watching.
Bye.